But normally, in my normal state, I would have gone, oh my gosh, you're yelling, and I don't like when you're yelling. It makes me feel like this, and if you just change that, and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go, and if I go, it's just no. You have to be direct, right to, and plus they're not even listening. The adrenaline's going, and they're not really listening to you. So
exactly, you're really getting it. So then you interrupt it. He comes off the adrenaline. He's back to his normal.
But it's training. It's training because the words hurt, the action hurt. It's scary in the moment. Because you've had this person treat you like this. You're at a point where, there's a statement that says never push a loyal person to the point where they don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. It's almost, in order for me to learn, I almost had to get pushed to a point where I didn't give a damn. I still cared a little bit, and then had that, and for me to have the light bulb moment go on. And it was just over and over, and nothing I was doing was working, and I just didn't understand. But now I get it. And I may have to do it 999 more times.
You will. You will have to.
I'm getting it, and also it's working. The evidence is fast. It's showing right in front of me that it's working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because today I got an I'm sorry, and for my actions and words, and where can I help, and the I'm sorry alone is such a huge amount. It's such huge.
Yeah. And so the mountain you're up against is 40-some-odd years of conditioning that he's had, that he's now going to be working hard subconsciously to change. And it's behavioral, and it's also chemical. So that's why it's going to take 900 repetitions, is because he's actually going to be rerouting his neural pathways in his brain. He's going to be redoing his, adrenal system and his body chemistry, and the body has to have time to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's why you see.
But then also, though, Faith, he's also being fueled by relatives, to sisters, that he goes to, and they fuel him in a way that say, oh, she's wrong, you don't have this, you have, and that gives him firepower, too, not to change. And it's really hard, too, when he gets fueled like this.
Exactly, which is why it's important that you be the most confident person in the dynamic. The strongest energy wins, and by strongest, I mean most persistent and most confident. And it's, of course, his sisters aren't supportive of all this because they were raised in the same dynamic he was, right? So they have the same perspective he does. They interpret things the same way.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so that's why I'm glad that we can talk. So because you're right, you don't have a normal support system. So we're getting through it. We're just about there.
Okay.
The next step is, after the adrenaline is shut down, and you're already in this step, you're so far advanced now in this, it's so exciting, is to require good communication when they're calm. So
yes,
you will
I agree with that.
Yeah. You'll start teaching them.
I have to improve my skills on that, because my natural would be, oh, I'm just going to do this at 4, okay, and this, not have good communication. What's the best mechanism for me now? What I'm seeing is that I write it down, or I put it in his calendar, or I really catch him and make sure he's looking at me, and he repeats it back to me that, okay, on the 19th of April at 9:30 in the morning, we are setting up for the Easter potluck. Okay, 9:30, right. April 19th. Normally I would just fly by and go, 19th we're going to be setting up for a potluck, boom. But for his, if I write it down or have it places where he can actually physically see it because he's in structure, it's better. It's so much better for him. And even if I have detail, what will he be set up? Tables and chairs.
Right. So you're talking about you having good communication toward him, which is very important. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I'm talking about what you're doing now is you're requiring him to have good communication to you.
Yes.
And you're doing that because as long as he's giving you good communication, he's on a loose rein and he's walking along and you guys are going happily down the trail together. You guys are great.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he doesn't, you no longer tolerate that, or what do they call it? It's not tolerate. It's like accept. It's enable. Well, one of those psychology words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forget. None of those were the right word, but you shut it down, and then you shut it down. And so when he speaks politely, then everything's fine, and you leave him alone.
Yes.
When he's polite, what happens is his self-esteem goes up, and he feels good about himself. And then when you compliment him and praise what a great husband he is and what a good dad, then his self-esteem goes up, and you just keep on holding your standards that he will treat you politely. And in
yes,
time,
but there was one thing that I was doing when he was being good. I would take that time to take a dagger to him and remind him how bad he was.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
You can't do that.
People could probably relate to that. He's being good, and now you're going to beat him up.
Exactly. You cannot do that. In fact, that is so 10 steps forward, 40 back. I mean, that is so bad. And it's so easy, and you want to get that dig in of, you hurt me, so here I'm going. And it's not worth it. In the end, it's not worth it because you don't gain anything. It's best that you just keep going forward and don't even, if you have to go say it to yourself in the mirror or say it to somebody else, but don't do it to them because they've already beaten themselves up inside. And then what you do is you beat them up again, and then it starts the whole pattern over again because then they get defensive and it's not worth it. It's still not worth it.
Exactly. It often happens if you've got pent-up frustration yourself from getting yelled at, pushed around, put down, blamed. So if you're holding all that frustration, it can be so easy when it's safe to really lash out and get them. But when you have this bigger perspective, so you know what you're doing, then you can really get them by helping to transform them. That's the best way to get them back.
Yes.
To teach them how to be nice.
Yes.
Which you do with your actions, not with your words. That's another place people mess up. They try to talk to them into being nice. Try to talk them into it.
Mm-hmm.
And have you tried that before, talking him into being nice?
Yes.
And does it work?
It doesn't work. In fact, they consider it belittling or get offended or they don't even listen. Or they go, that wasn't me. That was all your fault. So then I end up coming out and losing.
Yes. So you don't talk to them about their behavior. This is what will drive a few people listening nuts. They'll say, oh, my God, I got to talk to them about it. No. Don't talk about it. Just shut it down with your one ring.
And at the same, if anything, if you guys say anything, then it's stroking their ego. As funny as it sounds, it's stroking their ego and giving them, or talking their language and, for me, making sure that the room's vacuumed, making sure the dishes are done.
Right, because his love language is acts of service. So he feels loved when you do things around the house. He likes that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's praise and interrupt the adrenaline. Praise and interrupt the adrenaline. It's building the confidence and holding the respect.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two ingredients that are the two things. So, okay, so now you're requiring good communication. He's being polite. You're stroking his ego. You're praising the good behavior. You're letting him know all the wonderful traits that he has. So
yes.
The final thing that I want to talk about, because this will be necessary sometimes for somebody out there, I know you've experienced it in the past, is that a time may come where instead of one rein stopping them, you may have to protect your space because they're charging right for you with their teeth bared, and they're like making you feel like they're going to just run you down.
Mm-hmm.
And so there will be times, probably, where you really have to protect your own space because they have a way of crossing boundaries and just shoving right into you.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot let them just smash you. You can't let it happen. You have to protect your space. And
Correct.
they have to back off. And then the person who has to get them to back off is you.
Correct. And I've done that many, many, many times where I've just kind of sank in my chair and let them go and just, but really what I'm doing is I'm empowering that type of behavior. Rather than showing confidence, I'm showing the opposite of that. And so,
by doing nothing. You're just
by doing nothing and just like, okay, let him go, it'll be over soon. But then also when it escalates, and one time he came and I was in the bed, and he pounded on the wall right next to my head. He would never hit me, and at that point, I was like really scared, and I just laid there. Realistically, what I needed to do was get up, get my, and not even just grab a jacket, put shoes on, and just go to the car and leave.
Right.
It's
That was
unacceptable.
one range.
And don't even say anything. I mean, at that point, don't even say, I don't need to say anything. I just need to get up, get in the car, and leave. And don't even say anything because that is not acceptable.
Not acceptable. You crossed the line. But I'd like it if you could you tell the story about that you told me about when he was trying to put the diapers on the baby or change the pajamas or something. He got a little stressed out, and how you handled him, because this is what I'm talking about. You didn't leave. You made him leave, and you were really clear.
Correct. So we have a brand new baby, and so the baby was like a couple months old, and he said, "Oh, I'll change the baby," which I thought was great, very admirable. So he went in and he changed the baby, and the baby started screaming and crying because the baby did not like to have her diapers changed. And so as he picked up the baby, he didn't realize he picked her up really hard, and then he threw her legs down really hard. When I saw that, I literally, with my shoulders, both of them, I put myself between him and the changing table and the baby, and I, with a stern voice, tall back, and very powerful words, I said, leave the room. That is unacceptable. Leave the room. I no longer need your help. And out. And I pointed. He went out. He cowered and went out, and I shut the door behind him. Unacceptable.
Yeah. Did it surprise him that you did that?
Yes, because I've never sounded that strong before. And I think I've become clearer and stronger because I have a child involved, and sharper with things because I have a child involved, and I don't want, and he wasn't doing it to be mean or be abusive or anything. He just, in that moment with her crying, it intensified his insecurities. He didn't know how to handle it. It made him nervous, and he couldn't trigger out to go, this is a baby, she's upset or something. He didn't know how to communicate what he was, his nervous, and really what he was nervous, and I don't want to hurt the baby, and I'm nervous, and then it became frustrating. So that's what I was